What's up guys, it's Chase here. With the recent release of the new Custom Douser Dualies, I figured it was only appropriate to make a second part to my gear guide for the main weapon. Because while it does run some similar stuff to the vanilla Douser Dualies, it also has its fair share of unique abilities that people are running as well. As always, if you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, let me know by hitting that like button and subscribing. So I'm not just going to repeat all the stuff that I stated in the vanilla Douser gear guide, because I'm pretty sure most of you have seen that and it would just be redundant. If you haven't seen it, the link is in the description. I'd recommend checking out that part before watching this one. But I'll give a quick recap of the abilities that can be run universally on both variants. I made a big deal about run speed up being a great ability for the vanilla Dousers, and I think that still applies to the custom variant. You do have less gear freedom on this variant, which we'll get to, but I'd argue that even with that, having at least a couple subs of run speed can be extremely beneficial. Intensify action is useful for dually hopping, which this weapon tends to do a lot if you're playing them at a higher skill level. As I just said, this custom variant has less gear freedom, so instead of me recommending at least 2 subs of intensify action, I'm just going to say 1. 1 sub still has an extremely noticeable effect, so it's not like you're missing out on too much here. And if you're someone who doesn't really dually hop, then you don't need to run any intensify action. But I just want to stress, I would not recommend doing that. Stealth jump is still good on the custom Douser Dualies for obvious reasons. There's no reason really not to run it. The same can be said for these 3 utility subs, with a very large emphasis on the special saver. While I'd argue that special saver was optional on the vanilla kit, I'm going to say right now that special saver is mandatory for the custom Douser Dualies. You don't really have room to run any special charge up on this weapon, so this 1 sub of special saver is going to be the difference maker on how often you're getting your tri-strikes. Now, you could run comeback, which has special charge up built into it. Comeback was very good on the vanilla Douser kit, and it is still good for the custom. But there's a certain other headgear exclusive ability that you might want to run instead. We'll get to that in a second. But yeah, those are all the abilities that I recommended for the vanilla Douser Dualie kit that I would still recommend for this kit. Now, let's move on to the exclusive abilities. As I just alluded to, comeback can be good on this weapon, but an ability that might be even more useful is last ditch effort. With the vanilla kit, you didn't need last ditch effort, you had ink mine. That's not really a sub that you would typically find yourself using in fights or important situations, so comeback was undisputably the superior ability for that kit. Burst Bomb, however, is quite the opposite. You do utilize this sub in fights and important moments, and it can be very easy to run out of ink after throwing one. Hell, if you throw 2 Burst Bombs with a full ink tank, you won't even have enough ink left over to perform a dodge roll if you're not running any ink management perks. So you can see why last ditch effort is pretty good for this thing. When its effects are fully maxed out, you can throw a single Burst Bomb super comfortably and still fight afterwards. You can even throw 2 and still shoot for a respectable amount of time, but I'd still be very careful with that. Do note that I'd still make the argument that comeback is the better option for clan blitz, and it might be better for certain tower control or Rainmaker maps, but for splat zones and for tower control and Rainmaker maps that are very snowbally, as well as turf war, I would highly recommend last ditch effort. Running some extra ink efficiency perks alongside last ditch effort can be really nice as well, because as you know, last ditch effort isn't going to be active for the entire game. Some games, it won't even activate at all, so having a few extra efficiency perks to work with is nice. And when last ditch effort does activate, it will feel even better. Inksaver main is good because not only does it give you more shots after throwing a burst bomb, but it just helps you in fights, period. Oh, and by the way, yes, Inksaver main is better than Inksaver sub. It's been tested, you actually get more shots after throwing a burst bomb with Inksaver main instead of Inksaver sub, so you definitely want to run main saver for this weapon. Ink recovery up is also great, just to have less downtime after throwing a burst bomb. Now unfortunately, as I've been alluding to throughout the whole video, you're pretty limited on gear space with this weapon, so you're going to have to make some compromises. I'm currently running 2 subs of Inksaver main and 1 sub of Ink recovery. Yes, 1 sub of Ink recovery does make a noticeable difference. Obviously, not too many ink management perks here, but again, you do have last ditch effort to fall back on. These extra perks are to just slightly help you when LDE isn't activated yet. Lastly, we have sub power up, which if you've used a burst bomb weapon before, this shouldn't surprise you. Running 2 subs will allow your burst bombs to reach the exact point of the Douser Dualie's maximum range, which is pretty much necessary if you want the burst bombs to actually help you in your spread mode. Otherwise, they won't even be able to reach the opponents that you're shooting, which would make them kinda pointless. So yeah, there you have it. Those are all the abilities that I would recommend for the custom Douser Dualies. Here are some example builds that I made for you to go off of. If you like them, you could just copy them directly, or if you want to make some slight adjustments, like maybe running some more Inksaver main or adding some swim speed or something, that can work too. Oh yeah, and remember, comeback and last ditch effort are always interchangeable, but I recommend you always run last ditch effort for splat zones at least. Alright, well that about wraps it up for this video. I hope some of you found this helpful. If you enjoyed, let me know by dropping a like, subscribing, and also let me know what you thought down below. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you all next time.